Nathaniel Jackson. We're live on the set. Actually, we're in the Philippines live actually on the set. We're actually going to go outside and show you a little bit of the taping for Nathaniel. That's by Pokwang, by the way. But we're going to just show you kind of on the set kind of the lifestyle that you have. We have our new Charmed Life lifestyle series right now, and our bungalow that we use for the writers actually is located in the Marcos compound in the Philippines, Quezon City. They do a lot of tapings and things like that here as well. So we're just going to show you one of those today so you can kind of see what the lifestyle is like here and what it is to kind of see one of their TV shows being live taped in the province area of the Philippines. So anyway, come on you guys, we're going to go right outside. Thanks. Everyone, hello again. I'm Kareem Nathaniel Jackson again, and I'm live in the Philippines. I'm here actually on the set. I thank you very much for looking at our YouTube. I know you guys are Facebooking me out. You guys are on me. You guys are wanting this next part 2 of the actual Charmed Life. 50 times earnings. We're actually setting up the power of 50 times earnings, and this is the second part of that one series. In the first part, we kind of talked about how you need to be able to embrace the Philippines lifestyle, to really experience and enjoy the power of 50 times earnings. In this part 2 series, I want to understand to you specifically the conversion rate. And everyone, well, many of you know that the dollar here equals 40 to 50 times what it equals in the US. So most people hear that and they realize, oh, it's cheaper, you have money, you have big money, and sometimes that's actually very true. But the truth of it is, the power of the conversion rate, which is what impacts that 50 times earnings when you come to the Philippines, specifically, yes, $1 can be worth 40 or 50. But what that actually does for you, specifically when you're living in the real Philippines lifestyle, is it'll enable someone like a waiter or a teacher in the US, or a factory worker or a social worker or an entrepreneur, someone like that, to be able to use the power of 50 times earnings to actually get into situations, markets, investments that they never would not have the opportunity to get into, because it would need to be a sophisticated investor to get into a lot of those in the States. For example, if you're going to buy a condo at Trump Towers in New York City in Manhattan, that condo may cost you a few $millions. And usually celebrities or very wealthy people are the only ones that actually ever see that. Especially you're able to use that and then perhaps turn it into a condo or a rental project they would want to do in the States. So specifically what happens is, here the power of 50 times earnings allows your dollar to be worth more. So for example, in the Philippines, in the Trump Tower in the Philippines probably would allow you to get into a condo, which may be, say, around 2 million pesos. You're able to get into that condo for around $50,000-ish, which is the price of a very cheap house in the middle of America, in Kansas somewhere, for example. So then what happens is, yes, you're able to have the money to get into that, but the big power is that now you're in that world of Manhattan. You're living in Manhattan. You have a Trump Tower address in Manhattan, and that's one example. I'll give you another example. In the States, perhaps you're working 50 hours a week doing whatever you're doing, and you're making, say, $50,000 a year. And so half of that's going to taxes, unemployment tax, sales tax, things like that. So you're living as a 50,000 dollar employee, below middle class. And so what happens is, then when you're living that life and you're working every day, and 50 hours a week is just paying your rent and maintaining your lifestyle, you don't have time to go to the spa. You don't have time to go to the beach. Maybe you have a nice house, but you don't have time to enjoy the jacuzzi bathtub. You don't have the time. So what happens is, the other power is, if you do embrace the Zen Philippine true lifestyle culture, which is what I want you to do. I want you to learn from this video that the power is in this particular paradigm. is here you're able to do all of those things for maybe 10 hours a week, 4 hours a week. The 4-hour work week is in the Philippines. It's not even necessarily that it's online. What happens is here you're able to cut the cost of your personal living, which allows you to have free time to go and do what you really want to do. And you can pretty much maintain the same income. On this series, we are focused on $500 a month, which is the 2-year undercover, immersion that the publishers of the Philippines magazine, including myself, went through in the Philippines, living in areas like this, where we actually lived in the Philippines with these great people. It was not some Makati City, rich party situation. So what happens is the power then is if you were able to work for 4 or 10 hours a week and had the freedom to do what you do, that is an amazing amount of power, because that frees up your week. You've kind of switched that 80-20 rule to now it's 20-80. 80% of the things that you do, that rule. Now you're able to work for 20% of the time and enjoy 80% of your life, which now you would probably be, I apologize, it's very hot. We are out live in the Philippines on the set, you guys. So that would mean that you would have more time to write the book, to produce the videos, or to talk to your family. Perhaps you want to retire and your kids, you want to be able to stay home, and you're a grandmother or grandfather, you want to take care of the kids. That's the power right there. So the question is for you, what would you do with the power of 50 times earnings if you could turn from rich to poor overnight? If you could literally get into a situation where all of a sudden you are not stressed and cramping and working for the funds that you have, whether it was for 1 week, 1 year, 10 years, it doesn't have to be forever for you. But what you can choose to do is, what would you do? What would you invest in? If you were free tomorrow, if you had extra income tomorrow, if you were able to have every dollar you invested automatically give you 40 or 50 times earnings overnight, what would you do? Would you go crazy and live high on the hog at Shangri-La somewhere? I've done that too. I've experienced that tour as well. It was fantastic, but it does get kind of boring. Or would you actually go to the province type and in a lower situation and really embrace the culture and learn from it? Like when you look at those shows where they're going to Bali, for example, and Eat, Pray, Love. Remember that movie? Eat, Pray, Love. She went to Bali to embrace that. She was a writer just like me, and she went there, got rid of everything. If you have not seen that movie, I recommend, if you want to see the power of 50 times earnings in a movie, go see Eat, Pray, Love. She embraced the culture, learned how to shed everything she was not happy in. I think it was New York City where she was a writer. She was not happy. She went and she found the love of her life. She did all of these things in Eat, Pray, Love. And she lived very simply. She rode a bicycle. Could you imagine the freedom of being 45 years old? And you're able to ride a bicycle to a business meeting with a little basket on the front? You're getting in shape, you're out there. Well, the power of 50 times earnings, that's really what it is. So it's really time that you take your paradigm and you switch that. You switch your paradigm. You don't wait for some life crazy changing event, crisis to come up where you've got a sickness or you've got someone passed away or anything like that, where you actually take it and give a chance to yourself, where you change that paradigm and you realize, like we said in segment 1, if you take everything that you're making every year and you subtract all of the bills, everything that you pay, if you have anything left over, that is your true wealth. So the power of 50 times earning in the conversion rate is not simply that you can take $1 and buy a hamburger. It's not always the case. Many things in the Philippines are imported. So the truth is you're actually going to spend more money at McDonald's, because McDonald's in the Philippines is a 5-star restaurant. It's not a 99 cents place. The same thing with Pancake House, the same thing with Krispy Kreme donuts, the same thing with Vans tennis shoes. In America, a pair of Vans tennis shoes can be as little as $25, but in the Philippines, it's as much as $125 because they're import and they're trendy, right? They're also sold in the equivalent of Beverly Hills Center in the Philippines. So the power of 50 times earnings is not going to work for you that way in the Philippines or anywhere else. The power is in when you leave that Western culture and you embrace that, and then you absorb it and learn, how do they do it? How do they have less, do less, be less than we are as Westerners? But then they're more happy than we are. I don't see Filipinos jumping through the, from their house, committing suicide because they lost their house or they lost their job. I don't even see Filipinos with, 3 or 4 divorces. they're happier, they're more stable. So when you see that and you respect that, and then you surrender to it, and you say, I'm going to change my paradigm right now, I'm going to do it right now. So the power of 50 times earnings, that's what we're talking about in this series. This is part 2 on the set and live in the Philippines. Hot, blazing, fantastic tropical sun. Talking about part 2, but I want you to enjoy it, I want you to absorb it, and understand the power is in the paradigm, not in the fact that you can live cheap. That's not it, because it's not true. If you know, it's $1 to 50 or 40, so then you can do this, you can do that. In some cases that is, mainly for tourists. But when you're living in the Philippines full time, or you want to change your life, the power is that you can use that to, you're a sophisticated investor now. You're free to do whatever you want now. You're free to talk to many people. There's opportunities that are going to happen to you, not because of what you can buy with the conversion rate, but because who you become because of the conversion rate. And that's the power of the West. So again, Kareem Antonio, I am live in the Philippines on the set. You've been looking at my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I hope that you enjoy it. You can also go ahead and like one of our Facebook pages as well. Contact us. We're live in the Philippines right now. We're taking you through this Charmed Life Power 50 Times Earnings series. Stay tuned for part 3. Again, thank you very much. It's Kareem Antonio. You can visit KareemAntonio.com. You can also visit www.thephileppinesmagazine.com. You can see more of the Charmed Life, more of this fantastic stuff, you guys. Again, if you love the Philippines, I appreciate it. Remember, we're taking you through how to do this. Our next segment, we're going to kind of help you through in part 3 about how you can make that transition right now. So remember that shit, it's okay, it's going to be the segment about that, where we're going to show you how to now take the 50 times earnings, create that life you want, and to kind of start getting that plane ticket and making your way to the Philippines. Again, thank you very much. Kareem Antonio Jackson on the set, and I'm out. Thank you, thank you.